Hello, my name is Antonio Valente, and for 25 years, I've been working in financial services as a trusted resource to help individuals, families, and companies create and protect their legacy. Most people think being a wealth advisor is about stocks and bonds, or even what the market is doing, but it's not. It's about helping people create and protect their legacy. And it's been my experience that most successful people and families are driven by living a life of purpose. And that's the secret ingredient in creating a legacy. So gear up, my friends, because we're about to climb the Legacy Summit. Friends, thanks so much for tuning in. It's episode 6 of the Legacy Summit. As a reminder for our first-time guests, that I'm a wealth advisor based in Dallas, Texas. We're servicing clients across the country. This show is not about investing. It's not about money. It's about living a life of purpose and my conversations with individuals and organizations that are legacy-driven. Wow, nice to be back in the studio. Emilio? Thank you. I took the summer off from filming, and it's nice to be back. I'm ready to go. And honestly, what better way to get back into the swing of things than with my first guest today? Now, almost all of my friends growing up dreamed of being a professional athlete. Didn't matter what sport it was: football, hockey, baseball, Jordan, Mattingly, Gretzky. None of it mattered. Sports was the dream. And well, as you know, that dream becomes smaller and smaller as folks grow up, right? The number of folks, individuals playing sports in high school goes down, and it goes down even more when you get into college, and very few make it to the pros. But for some of those individuals, that dream becomes true. It becomes their reality. My next guest was drafted in the first round, 5th overall in the 1996 Major League Baseball draft. He was drafted by the Montreal Expos. He knew what he wanted to do, I think, at 9 years old. And he literally worked his entire life to get there and to make it happen. A story about success, failure, adversity, perspective, and perseverance. Let's welcome my friend, John Patterson, to the Legacy Summit. John, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the invitation.
You bet. It's great to see you again. I've got to say this. We've been friends for many years here. And when I first met you, about 5 years ago, I said, hey, John, one day, not today, not tomorrow, but one day, you and I are going to play catch.
You did.
I had never played catch with a major league ball player before. And today, what happened? We got to play catch. So we were out in the hallway playing catch, John and I, and that was awesome.
It was a lot of fun. I almost screwed up and threw one a little bit too high and made a mess, but I'm glad that it did work out and we got to finally do it. It was fun.
Thank you. And truth be told, I did drop the first catch. Like unbelievable. Full disclosure, right? And
we got in your eyes.
That's what happened. The light was in my eyes in the hallway. Emilio will drop the photos here, but it really was a lot of fun. John, thanks seriously for being here. Your story is amazing. Your legacy is not just about sports. It goes well beyond the baseball diamond. But I always like to say a good place to start in telling the story is the beginning. So let's start there. Let's talk about the early years. Let's talk about the draft and minors, because most people never get to hear their name being called by a professional organization. And then what's it like navigating that minor system on that process to the major leagues?
I had an amazing family. My dad was a minor league baseball player for the Baltimore Orioles. My mom spent his whole career with him. They were married. I was born like the last year of his career, so I wasn't around it, but my older brother was. So I had a lot of experience to help me, and then hiring an agent and, getting that kind of advice and information was super helpful. I really personally can't take credit for much of it because I had good guidance, and I had them to lean on. All I had to do was throw the baseball, show up on time, work hard, off the field, and the rest of it really just came to me. So,
Yeah. But that was a lifelong dream, right?
it was absolutely a lifelong dream. It's the only thing I remember ever wanting to do. I didn't say like, well, if this baseball thing doesn't work out, I'll be a veterinarian or something. You know what I mean? Like that's never was on my mind. From the time I was 9 years old, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. By the time I was 14, it looked like, wow, I might have a chance to do something. Like I started getting invitations to a lot of different teams and tournaments across the country. And it was amazing. It was one of those father-son adventures that my dad and I got to do. I spent a lot of time in the truck, a lot of time with each other. And, we just traveled and played baseball. And by the time I was 17, I had a full scholarship to LSU, number one team in the country. And it looked like I was going to be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of surreal. And it's like, I'm just John from East Texas, right? Like, how is all this happening to me? But it absolutely did. And an unbelievable experience. Draft day is one of those days that until I'm gone, I will always remember it and always put it up on a threshold.
From draft day to the minors, going through that system, what did that feel like, right? Because when I think of minors, or when I hear, stories from some ball players, or even watch films like Bull Durham, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing like broken down buses, and
yeah, it's all true.
It is, huh?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. The minor league system is really nothing pleasant. I think they have made some improvement in the last 10 years, but for the longest time, it was meant to be uncomfortable. It's meant to not be a place you want to be, right? Because the team's paying your salary. They don't want you there. They either want you to accelerate yourself through the minor league system and get to the big leagues and help the major league club win, or they don't want you to stay there, right? Yeah. Like, you don't want to be an A-ball for 2 or 3 years. You want to you want to be uncomfortable and work hard to get out of there. So yeah, it was quite the experience, and I did try to get out of there as fast as I could.
That's awesome, John. I never even thought about it like that. Is that the teams don't really want you there, and they want you to make it uncomfortable as possible, so that you're moving through the system.
And if you want to be comfortable and have all of the amenities that you think you're gonna get in the minor leagues, you need to go to college, right? Because they're completely spoiled.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they do want you to be comfortable, but professional baseball is a whole different animal.
That's incredible. Yeah. All right. So you make the transition, and obviously you get to majors, and your numbers are really solid, right? So 415 strikeouts in your career. 2005 was a banner year for you, right? I mean, you had 185 strikeouts that year. You had a 3 ERA. For the Nationals, and that was the inaugural season for Washington too that year, right? That's a pretty darn good year, brother.
Yeah. It was a culmination of a lot of hardships, a lot of success and a lot of failure over a 7-year period. Mm-hmm. I spent a few years, like 2.5 years in the minor leagues, and then I got hurt. Mm-hmm. And kind of sidetracked my career for a little while. And went through depression, anxiety, all of the things that you could imagine. I fell into addiction. Mm-hmm. I just, I really didn't want to live anymore. I really didn't want to play anymore. I had so much promise and so much money and pressure and things like that were invested in me and put on me that when I got hurt and I didn't get to the big leagues at 21 like I was supposed to,
right?
And things really weren't playing out the way they were supposed to. It just sent me down a road that was very dark.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And when I came out of that with a whole different mindset and a whole different perspective on how precious the time was.
Yeah.
And how to work smarter and not put so much pressure on myself. And so when the team moved to DC, it was kind of this fresh start for everything.
Sure.
Right? Not only me, but it was a new organization. It was a new city. It was new fans. It was new everything.
Yeah.
And that really was important for me, I think.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, having these years to process it, it was such a vital time because I wasn't being compared to anybody anymore. I was just John Patterson, number 22, get out there and do it, right? And I was ready. I'd made the mistakes. I had the successes. I believed in myself, but more than anything, I was healthy.
Yeah.
My arm was healthy, my body was healthy, my mind, I was emotionally healthy, spiritually in a lot better place. It was just everything kind of lined up for me to go out there and have that year that everybody had always believed that I could have.
Yeah. I know you were a fighter, you still are. I remember you were telling me a story. You played for Frank Robinson, who's a legend, Hall of Fame baseball, absolute legend. And I think that was that same season in 2005, right? And there's a game we talked about once, and you playing against Pittsburgh. It might have been Pittsburgh, and you had a rocky start, but you came back and bounced real hard. You had a special relationship with Frank, right? Can you share that a little bit?
Yeah. Again, it's just kind of like, things needed to happen
Yeah.
for me to have success. And Frank was part of that. Frank was tough but fair, and he was a player. And a lot of times players don't make great managers because they still think of themselves as players. And Frank had done so many things in the game, from being an executive to a manager to a player manager to a Hall of Fame player. But what he provided me was when Frank said something, I believed him, right? And when I was dealing with some adversity, I could look at Frank and go, I'd never had to deal with the adversity that Frank dealt with. The country was in a different place then, and there was just a lot of things that I can always lean on Frank. And the game that you're talking about in Pittsburgh was, it was a game that I don't even remember if I was supposed to pitch that game. There was somebody got hurt, and I had an extra day of rest or something, and it was kind of like, sure, I'm ready, I can do it, And I went out there, and I think I may have been sick, and I started off, my arm and everything felt good, but I was just not quite there. And I gave up a few home runs like early in the game, and I wasn't going to make it much longer. It was just like things weren't clicking.
Yeah.
And Frank walks down, and he sits down next to me on the bench, and he goes, "You're way better than this." It was just kind of tapped me on the leg, like, "Come on." It's okay. I sat there for a second. He walked off. I thought about it. I walked over to him, walked back down to the other end of the dugout, and I looked at him and I said, "I'm going to go 7 innings." And he nodded his head. And I went out there, and I think I retired 28 in a row or something like that. I mean, it was just like boom, 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 boom. It was pretty awesome. And, that was a moment that was like Frank and I had finally, we were together. We didn't work against each other. We worked together.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing experience. And, I had better games that year, but that one is very special.
Yeah, it sticks out. I mean, you told me about it. It still sticks out. And then a couple months later, I know you had a four hit shutout against the Dodgers, right? 13 strikeouts, 0 walks, right? And I know my San Francisco clients and friends are loving that story.
Yeah, right.
But that doesn't happen without all those other things.
No,
right?
No, it doesn't.
Coming along.
It doesn't. And I mean, it was a progression even through the year. Learn something each game, and getting to that, I think it was in August. I was facing the Dodgers pitcher. That game was one of my arch nemesis rivals. And it was a night that the air was very thick, the lights were very bright. And I was so locked in that, it was very special. And I didn't really understand what was going on until it was all over, right?
Yeah.
You're so dialed in, but amazing moment. couldn't have happened at a better time. And
Yeah.
really, really special moment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we often think in life that we have everything figured out, but it's usually at those times when the rug gets pulled out from under us, right? And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about sports or any type of career, if we're making pizzas, and none of that really matters. And sometimes life throws us those curveballs,
Yeah.
and the things that we think are going to happen don't. And whether it's an injury or an illness or, it's just life, and it starts to change. And it's these points in our life, these adversities, right, that either make or break us, right? And there's probably multiple inside your career that you think about, but you wrote this book, and of course I brought it, right? It's right here, John Patterson. There you go,
Yeah.
right? Perspective, perception, perseverance, how to understand and navigate life's challenges. And that's such an important book. I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about it, but when you first gave it to me and I was reading it, I told you, I said, John, I go, you write with this raw authenticity. And it took me about a week just to get through the intro, okay? Because it felt like I just got hit with 100-mile-an-hour pitch right here, right in the heart. I know you've been through a lot, and I know you're here, and all your successes is you and your amazing family around you, but I could feel every single win, and I could feel your pain inside this book. This book is a game changer.
Thank you.
Talk a little bit about the book.
The book took me a lot of years to convince myself that I wanted to write it, to get to a place where I felt like I could be raw, that I could be authentic, that I could do it with the ultimate purpose of helping other people, and also at the same time using it as a release of letting things go that I couldn't control, things that happened to me that I needed to let go to continue to move forward. And I sat down with the idea of, I'm going to tell the story. I'm going to tell the story of how it happened. I'm going to tell the story of what I went through. I'm going to tell the story of being on top, being on bottom, being depressed. I went through a period of being suicidal and addiction, and just very honest, very raw, and was able to get to a place where I could let the mistakes go. I could actually look at the successes and go, that was really cool. Those were great experiences. Things didn't turn out exactly the way that I wanted them to turn out, but I mean, really, not many things in life do.
Right.
But how you react to them, how you respond to those adverse situations or those mistakes is really the most important thing.
Yeah.
It really is, because if you dwell on it and if you let it eat at you, you're never going to move forward. You're never going to get better. You're going to try to control things you can't control. And before you know it, you're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
We see it on a daily basis. We all know people that have continued to fight it. It's difficult. It's a daily grind. And in the book, I talk about things that can help relieve that pressure and relieve that stress, and how to move forward and focus on the things you can't control and not what you can't control.
Retiring from special careers, professional sports is probably the biggest example that comes in, maybe even an operating room doctor. But, one day you're in an arena and there's 50,000 people screaming your name, right? And then a month later, there's nothing. Right. And that transition is not an easy one. This book is like a blueprint about transition. It's a blueprint about life. When you gave me this book and I was reading it, and I remember calling you one night and I said, your book is going to save lives. And that's not words that I just throw around easily. I mean, that's the reality. And it doesn't matter whether you're leaving, a transition problem, addiction, or, depression. This is a book that just saves lives.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, it's, that's something that's very important to me, to think that my negative experiences can ultimately help someone else that's going through a really hard time. And It's a book about life.
Yeah.
It really is. It's got a baseball on the cover, and there are some baseball stories, but ultimately the book is about life and the ups and downs that you go through. And, being able to touch someone like yourself and other people that I will never meet, that I will never know, how it helped them, is special. And it allows me to, feel good about some things that happened to me in my life that you can read about in the book.
Yep.
That really, truly has put me on a path to where I now don't think of myself as a baseball player. I think of myself as a speaker and as a father and as a husband and someone that can help people along their journey.
Yeah. I want to switch gears. I want to talk about family, right? When I first met you, I was like, man, this guy's like a brother to me, right? That's just how I am. And that's how I connect with individuals. I know your lovely wife, Shannon. She's amazing, highly successful realtor here in Dallas area. How important was she during your journey?
Everything. My parents, my brother, my sister were obviously played key roles.
Yeah.
But Shannon, living with me and being with me on the daily basis, she saw me at my absolute darkest times. Once my career had ended from another injury, came out of nowhere, completely surprised everybody. And so it was very traumatic experience for me, for her. We were just getting newly married. And, her support has been unwavering. When I have moments to this day, she can sit me down and calm me down and we can talk through it. And it's only made our relationship stronger because I haven't found one thing yet that will disturb her.
Yeah.
That I can lean on her and I don't have to hide anything. I don't have to hide my emotions. She's very special. I love her very much.
Yeah. I kind of say that the heart of a champion, athlete, no athlete, whatever, it's not really about the ESPN Sports Center or highlight reel. It's really not that. It's about overcoming adversities, right? You're a champion not just for throwing baseball, not for being in Major League Baseball, but for who you are and all the accomplishments that you've done. Palmer, right? I already know Palmer is John's son, who's in first grade. First grade. He's already twice the golfer, maybe 3 times the golfer than me. Okay, which is, I know, maybe not saying much on a relative basis, but he really is incredible. How important is family unit to life success?
It's one of those things that you can't put into words, or I don't have the words for it. I'm sure somebody could. He's everything to me. I get to spend an unusual amount of time with him, being able to work from home and spend the time and coach his teams and drive him around and pick him up from school. And my world absolutely revolves around Palmer, and being able to see the world through his eyes is very, very cool. And, teach him the game that I love, and to go on the golf course and play with him and my dad, and just kind of see this whole process playing out that is very neat.
It is.
It's emotional to me. I can be an emotional person, and it's very emotional to see him have success and be able to give him a hug.
Yeah. So I would, in our world, we're always talking about next generation planning, family governance, and all these different things, right? The success is not just about us. It's about continuation of that level of success. And Palmer one day is going to see this. Palmer one day is going to read the book, right? What's one thing you want him to take away from this book?
That he's enough, that he doesn't have to be more than who he is. And, there's going to be really good days. There's going to be really good bad days. It's not how you define yourself. And you define yourself in being the person that you are, that how you treat people and how you respond to adversity. That's how you can start to define yourself, where, in my case, my worth, my value, how I define myself most of my life was what success I had that day.
Yeah.
Or what failure,
Right.
It was this up and down cycle of who am I? Right? Because I was always searching for, well, the better I do, obviously the better person I am, right? You know what I mean? I looked at it through those eyes. And, for him and for everyone really is just to recognize that you are good enough and you're enough, just who you are.
Love it. Love it. Emilio, let's put up the link for our audience here and how they can get a copy of John's book. I think everyone needs to read this no matter what stage of their life that they're in, because it really is that good. And John, I know folks are going to want to reach out to you after watching this and hearing this. And we're going to show your website as well, which is perspectiveagent.com. Emilio is going to put that up here as well. You're going to have folks that are probably going to want to contact you either. I mean, you can buy the book right from the link, but
Yes.
You're a speaker,
Just
a coach, right?
Yeah.
Spend a minute on different things that I think that are helpful to individuals.
Since I wrote the book, I've been doing speaking and motivational speaking. Most recently, I've been working on, how to prepare yourself in a daily routine for success, what that looks like, how that builds out. So, speaking, executive coaching. I work with athletes as well, and it's the best way to get me. And if you buy the book through my website, I will sign it and send it to you. So that's a little bonus. Or you can buy it through Amazon.
Yeah. I like going straight to you because I like getting that autograph.
That's right.
I like getting that autograph. John, you're great people. I'm proud to call you a friend of mine. I always enjoy all our conversations, whether we're grabbing lunch or I get to see you at some event that, that we're both out. Tell Shannon and the whole family that I send my best. I appreciate your friendship as always. Thanks for coming here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to talk about another story of survival and a story of hope. How something as deadly as cancer could bring forth life. You're not going to want to miss this. So stick around with us at the Legacy Summit. We'll be back in just a few.
Experience. It makes all the difference. The Penn Valente Group has decades of experience in navigating clients through various market cycles since the early 1980s. We have the experience investors need to help make the right decisions when it matters most. We invest our time in building strong relationships with our clients. This leads to better outcomes for our clients. Investing for the long run is the right advice, but it ignores basic human nature. The fear and greed cycle leads investors to buy high and sell low. We help our clients become informed investors by maintaining the highest standard of care with consistent communication regardless of the market's direction. We act as the voice of reason with realistic expectations for how markets actually behave. Over shorter periods, market returns have a very wide range of results. Over longer time periods, outcomes tend to center around long-term averages. History matters. We don't panic during times of market stress. Big drawdowns in the stock market have been a common occurrence, and we understand that's typically when our clients need us most, and the manifestation of our work together will likely be most evident. We prefer preparation over panic and understand that though diversification is key, it is also hard. Why? Because true diversification means holding underperforming assets. If everything is working, it means your portfolio is not actually diversified. With the knowledge of behavioral biases such as loss aversion, we understand that losses are more painful than gains are pleasing. The math behind diversification makes sense, but its psychology can be troubling. Experience. It makes all the difference, and that's peace of mind for our clients when it matters most. Give us a call at 214-373-2925 or find us online at pennvalentegroup.com. Let's see how our experience can help you better achieve your goals and enhance your family legacy.
Okay, friends, thank you. We are back, and thanks again for sticking around for part 2 of the Legacy Summit. And I've got a special co-host today for this part of the show. Everyone, please say hello to Hope the Bear. Hope the Bear's got a special message. I hope this comes through.
Antonio, I'm Hope the Bear, and I'm so excited to be with you at the Legacy
Thank you, Hope the Bear. I guess we can say it's a bear market today in the studio. So, but sometimes you hear a story or see something that really just stays with you forever. And my next guest is a perfect example of that, because when I first met her and heard her story, I was nothing short of blown away. And it starts with this right here. This was the chance that my next guest was given to live through her diagnosis of cancer. The very bit of light that's able to pass through my fingers, it was casually said to her by a doctor. And not only did she beat cancer, but she went on to become an author, a speaker, a coach, and the founder of a charity organization. She's an advocate for policy change, awareness, and education, and her group advocacy work on Capitol Hill has contributed to key advancements for childhood cancer. She's been on NBC, Fox, ESPN, and now we get to say, right, Hope the Bear, the Legacy Summit. So Jenny Mulks, welcome to the Legacy Summit.
Yay. Thank you, Antonio. I'm happy to be here. And I have a friend too.
Hope the Bear, from California to Texas, all across the country.
That's right. Everywhere. Hope is everywhere.
Hey, Jenny, thanks seriously for making time here today. I really appreciate it. Your story is just so amazing. We're going to talk about a couple of different parts of it. But when I think about your story and your legacy, I feel like it's sort of developed through several stages of life where cancer was sort of the agent of change, right? And I think when telling, I said earlier, like in segment one, when we tell a story, sometimes the best place to start is often at the beginning. So let's go there. Let's spend a minute here on your life, what you were doing before that moment of change.
Absolutely. Well, life was normal as it is before cancer. Normal as in my little boy was 4 when I was diagnosed. But before that, I'd been divorced for a few years. I was moving up in my pharmaceutical career as a regional manager. I had just been awarded 2 years in a row as Regional Manager of the Year. That was the trajectory that I was planning on going on, was up, up, up in my career. I had actually just accepted a transfer as well. So in the interim, I had 2 sales teams that I was running. So I had pretty much all of the California, as far as the middle of California on up north. And then I got cold feet, and I just had an inkling that something wasn't quite right for me to move my son out of town, away from family. And I pulled the plug on it and took my old team back and stayed here in San Luis Obispo. And God knew there was a reason. 3 weeks later, I was diagnosed.
It's unbelievable. So you're living a regular life. And this is, I was saying in our first segment with John, is that, we're living our life and things are going, and sometimes we could take it for granted, sometimes not, but then boom, right? Like we get that phone call and it's, things change. Were you feeling sick? Was it a routine exam?
I had gone to the doctor twice prior to that. I'd say 10 months symptomatic, and I'd gone to 2 different doctors actually. And both of them told me it was stress. So I said, you're young. I was only 38. You're young. You have a high pressure job. You're newly divorced, single mom. So they were putting all these things that could be equated to stress for abdominal pain. But I knew something was up in my body. You just know. You know. And you need to be your advocate for that stuff.
Yeah. You get the news, and now you're quite literally in the battle of your life, for your life, right? Talk about your fight for a minute.
Well, you go into an absolute whirlwind, especially when that was the last thing that you expect to hear. I was 38, like I'd said, so young and healthy. I'd been training really hard. And I told my parents, I said, I feel like I'm training for a marathon. Well, I was. What I didn't know, it was going to be a marathon to fight for my life. I was given 6 to 12 months to live. And that's pretty devastating news to get when you are the sole provider for your 4-year-old child. And it's unacceptable. That wasn't going to be my trajectory. And that was what I was aiming for and praying for and working for. after this diagnosis. Nobody is a cancer patient until that second that you hear those words. And from that point, that line in the sand, your life is truly changed. Hopefully, we can change it for the better.
We're going to talk about the organization in a second. We're going to talk a little bit about your TED Talk, right, that you've done as well. But when you think back, right, did you start to see like these gaps inside the process? Did you see opportunities where fighting cancer needed improvement, that there were gaps where things could be better?
Absolutely. Being that I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for 14 years, you know how to work with the system, with managed care, with prior authorizations, with research and studies and data. The general population doesn't understand that. And they also don't know how to access better care. Oftentimes people just take that first answer or that first diagnosis and say, all right, where do we go from here? Again, had I not been my own advocate, I would have gone even longer without being diagnosed, which I probably would have been inoperable. But because I knew to push forward, and I also knew how to find better care, I went to 5 different doctors for a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth opinion till I found the team that gave me hope. So that's crucial. I mean, that's part of the stuff that we're seeing people fall through the cracks because they just go, okay, I'll do whatever my first physician said, and then go from there.
Right. I want to talk about your TEDx talk for a minute. I was there for it. My team, the Penn Valente Group, as you know, we were one of the sponsors for it. I want to play a quick clip here for our audience because I referenced this here. Every time I do this, I think of you and your story, honestly. And I just want to play that. Emilio, let's play a quick video here for our guests.
I was told that it was my kidney that had died, and that was my diagnosis. The doctor again says in a very dismissive tone, still looking at her chart, your kidney is a moot point. You've got a massive tumor in your liver, and we don't know the point of origin. You can imagine, I'm sobbing uncontrollably. My mom bravely asks, her voice is shaking, what are her chances? The doctor finally looks up, makes eye contact, brings up her hand, and shows barely an inch of light between her finger and thumb.
There it is, right? Just enough space for the light to go through. Tell us 30 seconds on that day. Like what? That was your moment of change. That was your fight.
Yes. And of course, my words out of my mouth were, I'm a single mom with a 4-year-old child. This can't be. Hindsight now, don't ever let anybody take your hope away. There's still light shining through. So let's seek that light. She stole my hope, and I let her steal my hope for a period of time. But when you watch my TED Talk, you'll see how we worked through that, how I worked through that, and how important your words are. But yeah, the way that diagnosis was served up was brutal.
Yeah. And I suspect that's just the way it's done. I feel like that probably continues. That probably happens more times than not, right? Because sometimes folks just forget, like, hey, you know what? We're dealing with real people. I know in our world, we just had our summer interns here, at Baird, and it was great having them. It was a lot of fun. And the one message that I really wanted them to walk away with for the folks that spent their time with me is that, this job, like our role, our career, it's not about stocks, not about bonds. It's not about what the market is doing. None of these things really matter. It's always about people. Sometimes I think the medical profession could spend a little bit more time understanding that as well.
Yes. And actually, when I speak to physician groups and to their teams, that's exactly what we cover. It's easy to get emotionally blunt. They're doing it all day. Yeah. Also, it's a protective mechanism. In hindsight, I look back and I think maybe this woman was a mom and she didn't know how she was going to serve up the news to me either. And she just had to come in and be, as a matter of fact. But you can't put the toothpaste back into the tube once you've squirted out words, right?
You're right.
So how you say it and what you say is so important because it really takes that message forward. of what if I was that person that said, I can't do it. Okay, I'm just going to listen.
How many views has your TEDx talk gotten over the years?
Right now we're at 5,000 and some change.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more when we're done with this.
Important. Yeah, absolutely. Because the gift of hope is powerful.
Yeah.
And we've all been given that innate gift that we have to tap into. So
Let's talk about, let's talk about coaching, right? Because, you know, we were just here with John's professional ball player. We were actually talking about one of the Hall of Fame ball players that was coaching him and how formative this individual was for him. And it is, you know, everywhere, professional athletes to you know, preschool kids all have these coaches. And then we get into these medical, you know, diagnoses, which is an absolute fight, and we're expecting them to just do it on their own. So maybe spend a minute on coaching. On, you know, I know you've worked with hundreds of people, and what does it mean to be a cancer coach? What's it mean to be a patient with a cancer coach? Talk about that.
Gosh, I would have loved it.
Yeah.
Well, just going, I mean, I'm a sports person too. I was college volleyball, all that, and I coached in high school volleyball. I think one of the greatest things about a coach is that they've actually played the game before. So they know the rules. They know they've walked the game. They've played it. To what level, it depends. So for me as a cancer coach, I walked that journey and played that game as a caregiver for my mom for 2 different cancer diagnoses. She's great and she's well. She survived cancer and thrived, thank God. And right after that was when I got cancer. So being that I've been on both sides of that fence as a caregiver and a patient, and I know and understand medicine and the system and the importance of different modalities of wellness, the biggest thing that I think that I would have benefited from was not going down certain rabbit holes and wasting so much time and wasting misinformation and disinformation. Because Dr. Google can take you into a lot of bad chat.
Well, we kind of joke around and we say, like, WebMD is not your doctor. Yahoo Finance is probably not your wealth advisor either, right? Yeah. Emilio, let's drop Jenny's website here for our folks. In fact, I think this link also includes a link to your TEDx talk, which is out on YouTube. Folks can learn a little bit more about coaching and what you provide in those services and how important they are. I want to transition. I want to talk a little bit about Along Comes Hope. I mean, because you didn't just have cancer, fight cancer, which in of itself is amazing. You then became a coach, which is amazing. And then you started a foundation, a 501c3, which is gold rated, by the way, by GuideStar. That's called Along Comes Hope. And tell us about it.
Along Comes Hope was birthed basically back in the hospital when I was sitting in there for many hours, many days, overlooking in the cancer center of Houston. It's 7 miles of skyscrapers. 2 huge hospitals that their lights would be glowing at night, and they were children's hospitals. And I could not imagine as a parent that my child could ever be in there. And thinking of the fact that maybe they could be in there and I couldn't be with them. And there was so many things that played into it that God really put it upon my heart once I was well and had some savings built back up to jump off the corporate cliff and into the arms of hope and into the gift of being able to give hope to children that are facing such a scary and potentially life-threatening, obviously, disease. I wanted to remove as many obstacles as I could from their journey. And that's where Along Comes Hope started.
We're going to play a quick video from your organization. I want all our folks to see that. So, Emilio, we're going to play that video for Along Comes Hope. Let's just spend a couple seconds on that.
I want to be a voice for those that don't have one. The mission of Along Comes Hope is to help families of children with cancer while they're going through their cancer treatment journey. We help provide financial assistance for travel accommodations when they have to travel for treatment. We also provide emotional support programs as well as educational support programs for community awareness. Our goal is to make sure that families can be together and heal together during this cancer journey, and not have to leave a child at a hospital alone because they can't afford to travel with them.
That's a great organization that you created, Jenny. I know you're touching lives all day long with your organization. You had said something that, a little bit earlier, that there's a very large financial hurdle, right, for individuals that are fighting for this. I mean, let alone just the battle itself, but the financial component to this could be devastating through this. And your organization is really geared to helping individuals through this process, right? And I mean, they're fighting for their lives, but it's really protecting the family unit. You've got something there from us here. Would you take a second? Would you open that up?
I do.
Okay.
Don't want to cut myself with my letter opener.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't run with scissors.
Do not run with scissors.
Well, looky here. Can I read it?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, I should have probably put some glasses on. Jenny, I hope you are well. Last week, I was hiking the mountains and was reflecting on some of my blessings. With a happy and... Goodness, I need light. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
With a happy and healthy household back home, I've lived long enough to know what a blessing that really is. And what can seem to be a state permanence is in fact nothing more than a state of impermanence. Working as an advisor with families, I've seen and heard how lives can change over a phone call. When a doctor says something like, there's a spot on this image, or you have cancer, well, we begin to understand that life is never-ending mountain climb. I've always been amazed by your story, and beating cancer is a win in itself, but taking the experience to go forward and help children with foundation, well, that's a difference maker. I've shared your story to countless clients and friends over the years. As such, it was time for me to do more. Please find a personal contribution to your organization, Along Comes Hope, for $500. My organization, Baird, will match this at the end of the year. Holy cow, yay. Helping children fight cancer is something that everyone can rally behind. Keep fighting the fight. Keep shining light in darkness, because as you know, along comes hope. Your friend, Antonio Valente. I can't thank you and Baird enough for such a huge contribution.
You bet. You bet. And what I want to do, because this is a show about action, right, is we want to get the word out. We want more people to know about your organization, and we want to let folks know how easy it is to donate. And it doesn't matter. It could be $5, could be $25, could be $100, doesn't matter. We're going to put up the website. Emilio has it here for us, and we're going to show that right now. And what's great, though, is that you went and did something a little even more for us to help individuals. And so I know everybody, okay, has one of these in their pocket. There's one right there. Okay, so all you need to do, if you don't want to go online and it's too hard to do and you're driving, not when you're driving. Hold on, take that back, right? Not when you're driving, but if you're on your couch watching this, all you need to do is text Legacy Summit or Penn Valente, okay, to 44321, okay? 44321. Type Legacy Summit, one word, Penn Valente, one word, and you will get back a link to make a donation to Along Comes Hope. It's that simple. It's that easy. $5, $25, $500. I would love to check in with you in 30 days and see how much has come through, right? Just from that link.
Well, in September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, so the timing is perfect for us to be raising awareness and raising funds.
I love it. We're going to make it happen. We're going to, again, just share this everywhere we go. Text Legacy Summit or Penn Valente, all one word, 44321. You'll get a link, a secure link where you can make a donation straight to Along Comes Hope. Jenny, where do you see the organization in 5 years?
In 5 years, what I see for us would be, and the goal is to make sure that we don't ever have to put another family on a wait list. Cancer doesn't wait, and we don't want to have families wait. And when we don't have the proper funding for each program, we can't always meet the needs of them immediately. And that's my goal, as well as having our emotional support programs as an ancillary benefit for employee options, to really focus on wellness for the overall family so that they could add this on as a benefit for them.
Yeah.
So those are two good long-term goals.
I love it. I love it. And let's just, again, as a reminder, when you make those donations, you'll get a copy of a receipt. Bring it to your employer because they're going to match it. My organization is matching it. That contribution is $1,000 contribution at the end of the day. And those matches really add up. They're important. They're really important.
Absolutely. If I could add one thing on that too, Antonio, you were talking about the cost of the cancer journey. Many people don't plan ahead for something like that. And had I not been able to afford to fly from San Luis Obispo, California to Houston, I can't even tell you how many flights it took over the year of treatment. I wouldn't be here today. Along Comes Hope wouldn't be here today. What Antonio and Baird just donated, that's 2 flights. Can you imagine having to choose between affordability or survivability when it comes to saving the life of your child or giving them a chance to survive? And often that hospital down the street is not the option that you need.
I love that. Jenny, you're amazing. You're such a great person. Your story is amazing. I've loved it since the first day I met you. When I was live in that TEDx, I did not have a dry eye. In fact, I don't think there was a dry eye in that entire room that day, because your story is so powerful. And you fought an amazing fight, and you're bringing hope to kids all across the country. I love your organization, the hope you're sharing, and it's really just been incredible. I can't thank you enough for making time to be on the show here with us today. I'm proud to call you a friend. You're creating a legacy of hope in a world and for children, and they need it. They need it. So thank you.
Thank you. And a reminder to choose hope. Always choose hope, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, friends, we are out of time here today. Again, my name is Antonio Valente, and I'm a wealth advisor here in Dallas, Texas. If you would like to be a guest on the Legacy Summit or need assistance with family planning, wealth planning, please reach out to us. Legacies are made and protected with intentionality and purpose. My team and I are ready to have a legacy conversation with you. Thank you, and God bless.